morning, y'all. I figured it was about time for me to come in and do my sit down and explain some things to you. So, over the last few days, you've probably seen some posts that were regarding my visit to prison. I think I talked a little bit about what happens after I left prison. And I never really quite answered the question or told you who I was going to prison to see. I told you some of the qualifications to be able to get those family visits is that you have to be immediate family or have a spouse that's incarcerated. And the latter is my situation. So I have been with, I'm going to call him Pookie because that's my nickname for him. And he knows I'm doing this, but he's so unsure of it all because it's also new to him. It's not anything he's ever seen before because Pookie's been locked up for almost 21 years and he has 20 months to go. And I have been with him since day one. I've known him since I was 11 years old and we met at church actually. I was like the little kid that always wanted to hang out with the big kids and he was a guest at the church. He was new and all the girls that I thought were so cool thought he was just the thing to be. Like they thought, oh my God, this guy's so fine. I want to whatever, but they were too shy to go talk to him. So what do? They send a little girl who's eager to be cool and hang out or wants to hang out. They sent me to go talk to him. I'll tell you all about our meeting story another time, but this is just to kind of give you some insight on who I was going to see. So long story short, I've known him since I was 11. Me and him started dating when I was almost 16. It was right before I turned 16. And then he got arrested when I turned 16 and he was 19 at the time. Our families are really close. And so, everybody just it was kind of a little taboo because I was 16, he was 19, but it wasn't that big of an age gap considering that we had some mutual peers and that our families just knew each other for a long time. So it took a while for us to even come out that we were seeing each other because we didn't want it to be weird for people. And there's, you go to church and there's nothing but nosy folks at church and they like to be in business and I was not about it and he really wasn't about it. I probably would have been more about it if he was because, I thought I was cool because I was with this guy that everybody else wanted to be with and I was with him. But by that time, those girls had moved on. We were going to different churches then and everything. Like, I don't even think they know to this day that I'm with him because shortly after we got together, this whole thing happened. I probably will tell you about the crime later just because I don't want to make this too long since I just got done talking forever about the trailer. Long story short is that he was wrongfully convicted. I know everybody says that their person in prison is innocent. And I will say that there's things that he probably could be in prison for. But this crime he did not commit. I believe that with all my heart. I feel like the evidence showed that. I think it was just a lot of circumstances. One being a black male that was not very well supported, that didn't have the great legal representation that he needed. And none of us knew what really to expect because we just were so reliant on the truth. It really only came down to the victim after being 100% sure it wasn't him, the 3 times before when they asked him. The day before, or the day that he testified, he became 60% sure that it was him. And that 60%, I wholeheartedly believe is what got him convicted because everything else was circumstantial. There was no evidence. There was no footprints or fingerprints or anything. But I can say that I think, the first question I always get is, how have you been with him all this time? For one, I was really young. And do I recommend that for anybody else? No, I don't. But I also know that there's certain situations that happen that you can't prepare for and that neither one of us thought were going to lead us here 21 years later. Because the charges were so bogus and the way that his lawyer defended him, the prosecutor, we just figured this is going to be a short-term thing that we'll win on an appeal and we'll get at him out of here in, 2 to 5 years. And then when we hit 5 years, it was like, well, we're going to work with this agency and they're helping us and blah, blah, blah. And if anybody's been through the criminal justice system, They are quick to put you in there. And they've even told us, you're absolutely right. That you have proven that you have, their words, flagrant prosecutorial misconduct. But we're not going to make any decision. The reason that they don't want to make a decision is because if they say, you're right, and that we can't do this, then other people are now able to say, you did this to me, so I need to get out. And it's just a big, stupid game. One thing I can say is, I was a church girl, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed church girl. Every day of my childhood was sunshiny. Both of my parents raised me. I had this... Oh, shoot. Is that him? Oh, that's Pookie. Okay, hold on, guys. Pause. Okay, sorry about that. Trying to remember where I left off. Okay, so I was very naive to the system. And partly, I think, was my age, but also just the way I was brought up. I was very sheltered. And I really just had like this naive faith in our justice system. And I was just confident, like, oh, they're not going to find him guilty because the evidence doesn't show that. And nobody railroads people to be put in prison. And all of the pieces that go with why we have so many black men in prison, I just was too young to grasp that and just didn't know or didn't understand that that's something that really happens. Like I said, I'm not stupid. I know that there were things that Pookie did in his life or the way he lived his life that could have ended him up in prison. Even he says that. But it's for one thing being in prison for something you've done and one thing being in prison for something you haven't done. I was confident that the truth would come out and that he would be set free. Over the years, we've won appeals where we've won in the sense that they've said, yes, you're right. You have a valid point, or we agree this was prosecutorial misconduct, or whatever the thing that they say yes on. But just because they say yes doesn't mean they take action to correct their mistake. Because it's kind of like, it's cheaper to keep you in prison, and who's really going to believe? Like, where are you going to go with it past us? We've even had it to where we've been waiting for 3 years for an answer, and they denied us a whole year before we found out we were denied. They said that they sent the information to the prison he was at. Now, to me, I feel like if it's legal mail, especially a decision, someone should have to sign for it. Someone should have to have an accountability on where this information is sent. So they said, oh no, we sent you a letter. We called the prison, we called the mailroom. They said we've never gotten anything from them. Nobody's signed for anything for them. So for a whole year, we were waiting for an answer that the judgment had already been made. Oh, gosh, I have stories for y'all. Just a lot. But I'm not here to tell you, like, I don't want you feeling sorry for me. I don't want you feeling sorry for him. I'm just kind of giving you a little backup story onto where he's at, why he's there, and why I've stayed so long. One thing I can say about me and Pookie is that there have been times that that I know that I have not been, like, in love with him. Because like any relationship, you go through ups and downs. There's bumps, there's bruises, there's just things that are like, living a life with someone that's incarcerated is exhausting. It's exhausting. I cannot glorify this at all. I give any woman so much props if she's deciding to stay with someone who's incarcerated. Do I say everybody should do it? No. No, no, no. No. But I also think there are a lot of good men that have made bad mistakes that are still worthy of love, that deserve that are going to come back into our society. And I think that there's situations where I can see why people do stay. We've been best friends for years. Before I even had a crush on him, he always would call me his little buddy, and I would be like, he'd pick me up from school, and he just was my friend all the time. And that friendship that we have worked on it a lot, but that's the one thing that comes natural for me and him. Whereas the relationship takes a lot of work, but it's easier to do because we have that foundation of being best friends, 21 years. My entire adult life and the last part of my teenage years have all been with the guy that I have not been able to physically be with. I've missed out on so many things that normal people go through that I have not been able to go through. Do I have regrets about it? There's some things I do regret. Absolutely. There are some things I do regret. Do I regret being with him, though? I don't. I regret that, things didn't happen in a different way. And there was even a time where I was gonna leave because he was just miserable. And his misery, he didn't know how to handle it or control it. I didn't know how to help him through it. And it just was becoming too much. And I was ready to just walk away from him. And there were times after I didn't walk away that I did regret it because I didn't quite see his transformation yet. But I will say that transformation came. And the man that I'm with today versus the man I was with not even 5 years ago or 10 years ago, completely different people. But what kept me going with him is because I could always see some progression with him. I always saw his potential and him working towards it. It would have been easy for me to leave if he didn't have that. He's always been different. And I told him, as soon as you become common, I'm out of here. Because I could date a common guy out on the street any day. And at least I would get dinner. He could take out my trash, wash my car. I might get my nails done off of his dime. Like, if I wanted to have just a common relationship, I could find that. That would be easy to do. I ain't ugly. I'm not that girl that's like got daddy issues, or I don't have low self-esteem. I don't think I can't do better. Like all the stereotypes that people think a woman has could even possibly be with someone incarcerated. That's just not me. Yes, those stereotypes are out there and you see them and you're like, baby girl, come on. We know what this is. But that's her life. Let her live that. I have never felt like I had to be with Pookie because I couldn't be with someone else or that I couldn't do better. I don't want anybody else because he fulfills the needs that he can for me, and that's good enough for now, It's hard to explain. It's not something I expect that people will all understand because I also hear other women talking about their relationship and my eyes is rolling like, girl. Pookie is my guy. And we have ridden this wave for almost 21 years. It'll be, I believe, 23 when he's done. And now we're at the end. We are getting close to the finish line. And it is just a different feeling. You hear women that, they're sad because their guy is going away for 3 years. Or they got 24 months or 60 months. And to me, I'm just like, oh my God, that is a picnic, girl. That's a vacation. That's a nap. He'll be home in a minute. But that's not to say that that's not going to be hard for her. That's hard, especially when you're with someone before they get incarcerated and you know them and you've got a relationship with them and you're connected and you live together or just y'all knew each other, that you have a history. It's hard to not be with that person, no matter what length of their prison stay. But I will say we're both just so happy to finally be on this end where it's like we're short. We can say we're short and really be short and start making plans and really be ready to, like, the plans are going to go into action. It's just kind of cool to be able to be on the end where it's the stuff that you want is coming true and you're going to be able to make those plans and do those plans with the person that you're in love with. Because I am absolutely, fully in love with that man. And it's, like I said, there's been so many bumps in the road where I haven't always been in love with him. But I always have loved him and our friendship, and I think that's what's kept us going. And the fact that we've both been willing to work on things. And really break ourselves down, like tear ourselves down and build each other back up because the stuff that we were seeing or doing we didn't like. And I have to give him props. Like, I know that man loves me just because of what he's willing to do to change for me and for himself. Like, I always tell him, like, you are the model inmate because you've taken every class. You've done every job. You are the guy that when they say, oh yeah, we need a hard worker or someone we can trust, they're always like, yeah, bring Pookie down. Call Pookie down. Like, he's always the guy that everybody respects. And I love that he's that guy. And they're not respecting him because of his street cred, because that life is not his thing anymore. And even when that was his thing and I saw how people responded to him, that wasn't something that really, like, that didn't draw me to him more, because I didn't grow up in that life. So I just kind of always thought, like, oh, that's silly. Like, you need to find something more productive to do. This is my bougie talking. And I wouldn't even say bougie, but it's just, I did not grow up. I didn't understand this street life or what that meant, or like, this is why you're getting all these accolades because you did that. Get a degree. He realizes, like, that was just something that he had not been given an option to do, or didn't know how to think out of that box. And now that he has, I mean, he just amazes me all the time. Do I think when he come home, it's going to just be strawberries and cream? No, because we both have to adjust. I'm close to 40. I got a few years before I'm 40, and he's already in his. And we've been living alone and separate for decades. Combining two households, of course, any relationship, that's a struggle. But he's also going to have to transition to just being free. And while that seems like that's an easy transition, it's really not. I mean, I've seen a lot of guys do it that have, some successfully and some have failed and end up back. Do I think he's going to fail? Absolutely not. I mean, he has too much of a support system with me. He has too many goals of his own. Like, he'll be fine. But just the two of us, we're going to have to work on it. But I'm excited to work on this with him, you know? I'm excited for us to start our family, for us to build our empire, whatever it's going to be, because we have plans, y'all. This is just one little blip of what you'll see from the two of us. Like, it's such a small piece on what I know God's plan is for us, or what I feel his plan is for us. I don't know what his plan is, but we're open to wherever he's taking us, because things are starting to happen already that's like, only God could orchestrate that for us. That's going to benefit him and both of us when he's out and now. We're learning how to take this tragedy and turn it into a positive, because I feel like there's just too many men that get their lives taken from them. And that's all it is their lives have been taken from them. They have nothing to show for it. But me and him were talking, and we're like, you know what? We're about to flip this sucker. You want to take 20 years from my life? Okay, I'm going to find a way for you to pay me for them 20 years. Because there is just too many opportunities for us to capitalize on our misfortune. And I don't see why we shouldn't. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just don't see why we shouldn't. He's still so adamant that when he gets out, he wants to hire a private attorney so that he can prove his innocence and have his name cleared. And I think I know how important that is to him, and I will support him all the way. There's too many people going through this that need to see what happens on the other side. And I want both of us to be that example. Society has such a misconception on incarcerated individuals, their families, the system. I do think it's getting a lot more attention lately, but not enough people understand what it is. They don't, and really not enough people understand that you're one bad mistake away from being an incarcerated person, especially if you're a minority. You don't even have to make the mistake. That's how close you are. You are right there, depending on who stops you and what they want to say that you did. Unfortunately, that's really all it takes a lot of times, especially if you're poor, you're a minority, and you don't have the funds for an attorney. That's not why I wanted to do this video, because it could get me going down a rabbit hole, and then that's a whole nother thing. Yes. So I go and I visit him weekly. We talk on the phone daily, and I spend the night with him at the trailers probably once every 45 to 60 days. So that's that. That's who I go see. One day I'll probably show you a picture. He's so supportive of this. Because he knows I've always wanted to do it. And I try to explain it to him. But can you imagine trying to explain YouTube to someone who has not even seen a computer screen in 20 years? It's mind-boggling. But he's so supportive. He's just not sure how it works. But stuff like that is what I'm excited for, because I feel like his excitement for life is going to just rejuvenate me, and I'm going to love seeing life through his eyes, because it's going to be such fresh lenses. Please ask me some questions. You know, it's hard to tell a story that you've lived for so long and not leave out chunks because you assume people know what you're talking about. And I do that often. I'm guilty of that. So if I have left out a chunk, or I'm like, wait, if you have a question on, wait, you said this, but you didn't really finish the answer, please ask me. I don't have a problem going back and filling it in. But I did want to let you guys know, because the whole point of me doing this is because I have always kind of lived two lives. It's kind of boxed me in. And I feel like a lot of times I kind of have to be two different people. Girl, who has time for that? I'm tired. I don't want to do that anymore. I am just who I am. It's like, you like it or you don't. If you have a problem, that's fine. The whole notion of like, you don't know my story until I tell you. And still, even then, you only know what? 25 minutes worth? 17 minutes worth of my whole 37 years? This is the beginning of me unpeeling Candace, or Spice, whichever one you want to call me. Yeah, I'm living my life. And I have a really good life, despite what people might think because of this story. I have a good life. And for the last year, I have been the happiest I've ever been in my whole life. I love my job. I love my friends. I love my man. I love the fact that I'm able to pay for my bills all by myself and have money left over. I love that I have this dog. Right now she's in timeout because she pooped on my floor. But she's my road dog. I'm blessed that I have a car that gets me to and from, that I don't have to even question if I'm going to get there. Because there's been times where I'm questioning, like, are we going to make it to work today? Are we going to make it home today? I don't have any stressors. I don't have any worries right now. God has really just helped me get to a place that I love my life right now. I love it. And it is my life. And I'm going to live it like I want to. There's been too many things that have recently shown me that life is too short. And I can't live this life for anybody else. And I don't get a redo. One and done. And I'm just doing it. I'm just stepping out on faith. I'm following what God wants me to do. And we'll see what happens. But I don't want to ever make this seem like I'm asking for pity, or if I'm pleading for you to believe me, because I really don't care. Like, I'm just telling my story because I know there is somebody that this is going to resonate with. And even me telling my story is helping me just continue to be better. That's all I really want, y'all. I'm so content with where I'm at, but I know I could be so much better. And everybody could. Like, I'm just excited to see what my better becomes, or what my better looks like. You know what I mean? I'm just happy with who I am. And I feel so good about it that I'm not going to let anybody's negative comments change that. But do I expect them? Absolutely. So yes, he is incarcerated. And yes, I'm riding with him. And I will until the wheels fall off. And does he deserve me? Absolutely, he does. He proves it every day. And he tries so hard. I have so many friends who has a free man laying next to them every day that don't do a daggone thing for them, but make their life miserable. And mine, no, he's not laying next to me every day, but he adores me. And he loves me, and I know that he cannot wait to provide for me. But you know what? The other thing is, because my mom always taught me this. She always said, like, you make sure you can do it on your own first, and then bring him in the mix. I just like the fact that I don't need him. I want him. There's a difference. I don't need him to make me happy, but he makes me happy. And that's all I can say about that. So guys, thanks for watching if you did. Thanks for subscribing if you do. Please like, comment, and share if you'd like. So I hope this can turn into a dialogue and a conversation we can have both ways. But please continue to watch and support. And I really appreciate all of you that have. So have a wonderful long weekend. And I will be in touch with you soon with more information. Thanks, guys. Bye.